our topic is communication. I think you have gathered it by now that communication is one of the world's biggest problems, and therefore it is definitely one of the biggest problems, if not the biggest problem in any workforce. Because if you put two humans in a room, even if they're brother and sister, they grew up in the same household, spouses or partners, it's pretty inevitable that there's going to be some kind of conflict, because we bring our full selves to work, and we bring our full selves everywhere. Long time ago, we used to say, hey, leave your feelings at home and just come here and do a job. And that never really happened. People probably just faked it until they made it. And also at that point in time, a long time ago, in the United States anyways, you kind of had a job for life, even if you screwed up. And we know that that's not the case on both sides, that employers make decisions to remove people from their team, either because of economics or because of the performance and behavior of that person. And then employees do the same as well. What you do need to realize, though, is, again, no matter where you're at, put two humans together, even if it's remote, conflict is inevitable. And conflict has such a bad word to it, but conflict has changed the world in good terms and bad terms as well. But if we didn't have any type of conflict, we wouldn't have the technology and the progress that we have had. So next time you see a conflict happening in your organization and in your department specifically, take a pause and say, okay, what good can come out of this? Because something good could come out of it if it's handled appropriately. Conflict, brings communication, I should just say, brings into all aspects: personality, style, self-awareness or lack of, and then that is what leads to interpersonal conflict. But sometimes just things as schedules or responsibilities lead to department conflict. And that's where you as a manager are going to need to come in. As a manager, I always like to say, you should protect your team at all costs. And what I mean is protect, not cover up. So never cover up for your employees. You're going to have those individual conversations with them one-on-one, possibly in writing, and then maybe putting them on a coaching or even an improvement plan. But conflict can be incredibly productive. Here are some just key rules for conflict management as a manager, whether you're new as a manager or you've been a manager for a very, very long time. Ask yourself, how in my department, in my role, or maybe in your company as a whole, do we currently resolve conflict? And then take a few minutes and write that down, because your assumptions may actually not be what's true. Ask some people that are close to you in the workplace, when we have a problem here, how is conflict resolved? I was on a call this morning with I'm coaching in a new manager, and I was on the phone call this morning with her manager, who is also a new manager. So talk about trickle down conflict, right? And one of the decisions and conclusions we've come to this morning was that we believe that based on this person's personality style, that she's actually intimidated by the two levels of management above, and the one being the manager that I spoke to this morning. And she even agreed, yeah, it's my personality is incredibly intimidating. Now I know her, and I know that it is true, and so I'm like, okay, now I'm going to need to coach her and then get them to hash out the conflict without anybody being afraid of termination, to be quite honest. But then also, even if you take termination off the table, of just pure embarrassment. So sometimes it's just how we handle it, and there's only one person we can control truly, and that's us. That's the person that is sitting there grabbing the mirror and saying, what can I control? And what I can control is how I communicate to other people and with other people. We typically send people problems to HR, so we're going to stop that as of today. Not all of them. So like I said in the first session 2 days ago, there are going to be some people problems that revolve around laws that you are probably not going to be an expert at. And to be quite honest, HR is not always an expert at either, but at least you'll be able to talk through them together, especially when it's something like FMLA, ADA, things like that are definitely much more legally compliant. But don't send your people problems to HR. Sure, HR, if you have an HR department, is there to help you, but as a manager, you're there to resolve the problems. But don't be afraid to go to HR and saying, or just to your director above you and say, you know what, I need help. Can we talk this through? Because I need some help here. I'm struggling. And then you can come up with a strategy together. I want your employees to respect you, not only respect the person above you or human resources.